not.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. You are watching, listening to, tuning into the Relationshipping Show. I'm LaDonna Raeh.
And I'm Lorenzo T. Hughes. What's up, y'all?
Where are you so far away?
What's going on, fam?
That's what I'm talking about. So how have these, I guess this week, the weekend before, how's it been for you?
Well, the weekend for me, it's been a weekend. It's always been a weekend when you're used to, or I guess used to working as a kind of an independent contractor, and you have to go back to doing some 9 to 5 work so you can make ends meet. So then you're obligated to travel to and from that 9 to 5 job. I think y'all know what I'm talking about. It's not that I don't like the job, but it's not what I want to be doing, But it's that travel and that demand. But other than that, my health is great. I'm excited to be back on the show. It's been a minute, since we've been able to get on and have a conversation with our audience. But so I'm happy to have a conversation tonight.
Yay! Can you ask me how?
How was yours?
Okay.
How was your week? Well, how many has it been? 2 weeks since we've been on?
I think it's been a couple of weeks. That's why I said a week and a weekend. I was trying to.
How was your couple of weeks and couple of weekends been?
It's been very busy getting ready for graduation for one of my kids, my baby boy. He's graduating, and my thoughts on the matter is, wow, he's taller than me already, and all I thought about was, man, 4 more years. I'm kind of been out of shape about it. I've been here before. So yeah, I'm just I'm feeling bad about it.
Oh. Okay, well, I'm feeling bad with you.
Thank you. Yeah. I feel like I got to make the most of the time that we have together.
Right.
Cuz once they turn 18, that's it. That's it. They kind of go on their own way. They may come home for spring break or for Christmas break, but they're already planning and plotting the rest of their life.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But other than that, well, anyway, you guys, this is one of those shows that you watch, listen to, or tap into. We're live on Clubhouse. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Facebook. And this is one of those shows where you just talk about, it's called relationshipping. And relationshipping can be any type of relationship. It doesn't have to be partner and partner. It can be mother-daughter, father-son, father-mother. Well, you get it. Son, mother, and coworker, neighbor. It's just different relationships that you have and different things that arrive because of those relationships. So in this episode, we decided to talk about, why do some people elevate their education, finances, or their lifestyle only to turn around and look down on those they once stood beside? Yeah. So this is one of those thought-provoking episodes where we'll tackle the uncomfortable truth behind the internalized classism, competition among friends, and modern day remnants of the house slave versus field slave mentality.
That's going to be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, especially since I've had it before.
And you say what? Clubhouse?
Yeah.
Facebook?
Yep.
YouTube?
Mm-hmm.
Is that who else?
That's it. That's where we are.
All right. What's up, y'all? Hey, look, y'all chime in on this one.
Yeah. And you can of course call us live. Those of you that
Yeah.
used to go out clubbing and you at home listening. It's okay cuz guess what? We're doing the same thing.
Uh-huh.
We're not out clubbing, but we are here talking so you can have something to listen to. But you can give us a call at 312-541-3. Let me look at the phone number.
Yeah. Make sure you
Oh,
give them the right one now.
look, I almost gave them the radio station phone
Oh
number.
my God.
They would have been calling like, yeah, I'm holding to speak to the people about the show, and they'll be like, wrong show. But yeah, I'll get that number for you. It's actually in the notes, guys. So take a look at that. but um, but yeah, we have a letter that came in, and we can kind of start off with that to
Okay. Yeah.
let people know what we've heard.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead and put the letter up there.
All right. Let's see what it says. Okay, here's the letter. Dear Relationshipping Show, I'm writing in hopes that you and your callers can help me make sense of something that's been weighing in on my heart. I have a friend. Let's call her Tam, that I've known for years. We came up together in the struggle, supporting each other through breakups, layoffs, and late night vent sessions. Back then, she had a basic 9 to 5 and lived a modest life. But in the last few years, Tam's been on the come up. She went back to school, landed a big corporate gig, and now she's living in a high rise and traveling internationally. I was so proud of her. I still am. The problem is, she's not the same toward me. Recently, I started a new job, let me see. Recently, I started a new job that I was really excited about. Instead of saying congratulations or asking what I'll be doing or details or how I feel about the situation, she asked me, "How much are they paying you?" I hesitated. And she followed up with, "Never mind, I'll just look it up online. I used to work that kind of job too. Salaries are public info now." Then she laughed and said, "Girl, you not making no real money anyway." That comment stung. It's
Mm.
like now she's elevated. She can only see flaws in my life. She critiques where I shop, what car I drive. She throws in my face the type of car she drives, and once even said, "Some people are okay with being average. I'm not." I never asked her for a dime, and I never compared myself to her. So why does it feel like she's comparing herself to me? Just to feel superior? Have y'all seen this before? Can money and education really change someone like that? She often brags about her 3 master's degrees, and I have no interest in getting one. Am I being too sensitive? I miss my friend, but I don't know if I'm supposed to shrink myself just because we need to keep the peace. Signed, still clapping while she's criticizing.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay. Well, let's unpack that one. Hey, look, and if you are a hater, please call in. You don't even have to give your real name, but I want to hear from a true, genuine hater, so they can so that you can explain to us why you hate, what why you feel the way you feel. So if you're a hater, feel free to call in too.
Wow. Do
Um,
you really think a hater's going to call in?
I would like to hear from one though.
Huh. Well, if you want to
I
call
mean,
in, the number is
yeah.
312-357-5141. 312-357-5141.
But you know what? Listening to what you the letter you just read, it reminds me of a conversation I was having with a mentor probably some years ago, and they were trying to explain to me why people hate, and he was explaining it in a way of it's like running a a race.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in the starting blocks, you have 8 lanes, you got 8 people in the starting blocks. And when the starter pistol sounds off, you got people who are going to start running and you got people who are going to be still in the blocks. And you're going to have that group that's running and they're side by side. They run in the same pace, the same speed.
Mm-hmm.
And you got the people still in the starting blocks that, if I remember correctly, they don't know how to get started in whatever endeavors they're trying to pursue. So they're still in the starting blocks. Then you have the group of people who are running side by side with you who are impatient. So they start to slow down and some start to come to a stop. They give up in the race. So, because things aren't happening fast enough. They're not getting to the finish line fast enough. So you got the people who slowed down, and you got you and maybe a few more people who's keeping up that fast pace. They running hard. They running strong.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have those people that have slowed down, that they've stopped and just gave up because maybe they've hit that brick wall of hopelessness. I'm never going to get to the finish line. I'm never going to accomplish this goal. I'm never going to make the money that I'm dreaming of making.
Right.
And then you keep running the race. And let's make this race a little bit more realistic. Let's say 3 years run by, you still go by and you still running the race just as hard. And you have come closer to the finish line. Maybe you've worked your way up to a certain degree in your profession or in your job where you're making more income. You're not making what you want to make, but you're closer to the finish line. But even then, you got the people who are still in the starting blocks who become envious and jealous of you. It's really not, I believe, not really of you, but it's maybe they're jealous of your drive, your ambition.
Or it's that thing where you say they're not mad at you, they're mad it's you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's really about, success is really about having the endurance to run a marathon race.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to continue the race. You'll never make it to the finish line if you never start out the starting blocks, or if you just give up halfway through the race.
That's true.
It's guaranteed that you will never successfully finish or complete the goal or complete the task or reach your goal. It's guaranteed that way. So you have to continue running the race.
Yeah. So now this letter that we received where you got the young lady who has shared with her friend her success, and her friend, the only thing her friend could think to ask her was, how much are they paying you? And she seemed to be upset because she wouldn't tell her. So now it's a matter of, well, I could just look it up. I'm determined to find out how much you make just so I can belittle you even more. And just reading the letter, there were some parts that maybe were left out. But just reading the letter, it sounds like the friend kind of makes sure that she dangles in her face, her friend's face, how successful she is, and compares them, all the time. Now, I'm here to tell you, I've been in that situation before, and it's not. It makes you not wonder if that's your friend. It makes you wonder why you're still theirs. It really does.
Good point.
Yeah, it's like, that's not your friend, because if they were your friend, a friend is supposed to feel good. The friend is where you get seek solace or refuge or utopia even. A friend is someone who's going to tell you like it is, to make sure that you elevate. A friend is going to care for you and celebrate you, not compete with you to the point where they make you feel like you are less than, you know what I'm saying, deserving of your celebrations. I can't see that being a true friend. I can't.
Well, a friend is going to be that person that's cheering for you, even if they're not in the race. They're cheering for you on the sidelines. They're encouraging you when you start to slow down. When they see you slowing down, they're encouraging you to pick up the pace. They can see from the outside that you're getting tired. Maybe they're standing by when that when if you've ever watched a marathon, you got that person that's reaching out to give you a cup of water. You grab it, throw it in your mouth, and you keep running. They're the ones that's standing there with the cup of water and handing it to you, so that they're doing what they can do from the sidelines to make sure that you can continue the race so you can finish. Maybe your friend, has maybe they're running their own race or they've completed their race and they want to see you succeed. Your friend is the person that wants to see you succeed.
Yeah, but this sounds like that friend that they finished running their race, you're running yours, and they put their foot out to trip you.
So has she won? I mean, where is she at in her race?
Hey, you know what? Here's the deal.
She in a pretty good position.
I mean, any position is a good position because you may be running a race while your friend is running a marathon. Both have to be respected if you're truly friends. So just because you're running your marathon and I ran my race doesn't mean I get to shit on what you're doing. And there are people out there. That's why in the comments or in the description of this show, you'll see where it says, "Are these house slave versus field slave mentality? Does this fall under the umbrella of having house slave versus field slave mentality?" And if you think about it, the only difference between that and this is there may not be a color situation involved. There just may be a status situation involved, which is where it all gets bumpy. I one thing I cannot stand is someone speaking how highly they hold the regard of sisterhood, friendship, church, spirituality, and then that's the very one that's shitting on you when you share with them things that you want to celebrate. And then at the end of the conversation, there's always this attitude, almost like this fixation with you giving them the answers that they want just so they can further judge you. and depending on what age you are, you can kind of figure out, hey, what's up, Braylon? You can kind of figure out what type of friend they are because now that you know, and at your age, because 20 you have hope, 30s you have a little bit of a guard, by 40s you have boundaries, and that's it. That's it. I appreciate it. Hey, if you want to come up and speak, raise your hands, guys. I'll bring you up on stage. Guys, we're live on Clubhouse just as well as YouTube, and we want to we love the fact that you're tuning in. But just to recap, we're talking about those fake friends that pretend to be your friend, but they're really waiting for you to tell them what's going on in your life just so they can pick it apart and criticize it.
You know what else, too? I think people are entertained with watching people fail. Sometimes I believe you have people that'll follow you on social media, not for the sake of enjoying your content, but they want to see you fail. It's
hey,
like
Christian.
They won't like anything, they won't comment, but they're watching. They're looking at your numbers,
right? They looking to see who else said hi,
how many people liked it, how many people put a heart in.
Oh, geez.
And they're doing like that kind of stuff. They don't encourage you. It's like the person that feel disgusted to say congratulations.
Ooh.
So they kind of give you that half-ass congratulations. Congratulations.
Right.
It's like
you can hear it in the tonality.
Congratulations.
Yes, you can hear it. Christian said, "Yep." She agreed. Yeah. You know what we're talking about.
And it's sad. It's sad because if you've ever accomplished something that you've been working on for years, and And usually when you're trying to accomplish a goal or a dream, it's a lonely process because nobody else understands your dream or your goal but you. So you're kind of alone at it. So it feels good and it's very encouraging to have somebody say, hey girl, or hey man, that congratulations on your success. I've been watching you and I'm proud to see you, you stick with it. I'm proud to see you working hard, and you've made it this far and you've succeeded at this point. I just want to say I'm happy. It feels good to hear that. But man, some people it's so hard for them to give you praise. It's just amazing.
Now, watch this. Sometimes their success can turn into superiority. You
Mm,
knew that person when they were, let's say, they were in a very modest apartment or had a modest lifestyle. And then you are part of encouragement of good, of sending them, getting them to go back to school,
mm,
or you've kind of been there lock and step with them as they have increased their interest in maybe changing careers or going back to school, like I said earlier. Well, once they do that and they accomplish it, you go to their graduation celebrations, you're amen and high fiving them. And
uh-huh.
then the ink is not dry yet. And then they're already talking over you to you as if they're not your friend anymore. They become that degree.
Mm,
Okay. So my little bachelor's ain't nothing compared to your master's all of a sudden. But I didn't know we were in competition. And so when you're telling me, well, as a person who has a master's degree, the moment a friend said, now I'm telling you this because this happened. The moment a friend tells me this, it tells me that you have taken off the friend hat and you've put on, Christian said, y'all better watch out for them fake friends. Yeah, she sure did.
right.
That tells me you've taken off the friend hat and now you have become what you deem to be an authority over me because you have elevated your education, and that's great. But this person has never been married. They don't have that experience to kind of fall back on, but they keep compensating or overcompensating whatever shortcomings they feel like they need to overcome with going back to school and getting 3 master's degrees, or is it 2? I think it's 3.
Mm.
And buying and replacing a Mercedes and asking, when are you going to get one? I have no desire to pour all my life savings into an emblem. None. I used to, but I have no desire. The other thing is, there's trauma in this. The trauma is respectably politics, and it's called the I made it syndrome. I made it syndrome. And when you go through the I made it syndrome, essentially you are almost putting people down. Now, let me just quantify this in the black community, Lorenzo.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked many shows about how women view men and how there's a disconnect in respect. Okay?
Okay.
The disconnect in respect, if you look at the statistics show that there are more educated black women than men
Okay.
in America. Now, that doesn't mean they're smarter. That just means they've been indoctrinated with masses teachings, okay? And they've got the certificates to prove it. Mine is in a shoebox. After I realized what was really going on, it's like I have been taught to call my group of people a minority group that have only been here since slavery and have contributed not much else more than what they were told to do. I'm not, no, please. So, with that being said, you've got a lot of broken homes where there's no respect for the man because you've got women who are being told by society that they are better than the man they have at home because they've accomplished their education or they've gone out and bought themselves a Mercedes or whatever, or they make more money than him. So they have self-proclaimed themselves as being the smartest.
You know what? first of all, let's look at what a degree is, right? Let's look at a bachelor's and let's look at a master's degree. And if you have one, you can validate this or dispute it. When you're working on your bachelor's degree or you're working on your master's degree, and definitely your doctorate. I remember working on my doctorate. All it was reading books and writing papers. And it was a ridiculous amount of papers I had to write. Reading books and writing papers and having somebody, a professor, read over what you wrote and giving you a grade over on what your research. So you can take someone, like for example, a Malcolm X or Frederick Douglass, and people who have read tons of books, who have the education equivalent to a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. And so when you say, because you have that piece of paper doesn't necessarily mean you're smarter. We look at all the people who are running this country, who have ran a country or have been in positions of leadership and were horrible at it. So because you have that piece of paper from your master or your master's degree, because you have people who have master degrees and will come out of a university and don't know who the hell they are. They don't know that you can go to school for 4, 8, 12 years and come out of school and don't know who the heck you are.
Mm.
Don't know where you come from.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Don't know anything about your own heritage.
And Malcolm X didn't even go to college.
Right.
But he read extensively while he was incarcerated. And he read based on his choice and path of knowledge that he wanted to take on.
Right.
I'm assuming he didn't grab a book that he didn't want to read. He probably read one and decided to unpack that information and read another and kept going. Jesse Jackson Jr., same thing. Mm-hmm. He has read countless numbers of books. The library is in his home. I've never seen that many books in anyone's possession. Mm-hmm. But the only way to level up is to read.
You have to read.
You have to read.
You have to read. It was something I wanted to say. It totally lost it out of my mind.
I'm sorry, try to think of it, but I want to let everybody know. Drop a comment if you've ever had someone close to you throw shade instead of support. I want to see it in the comments if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, and if you're in Clubhouse.
Yeah, I wanted to say this really quick. I hear people, who they get out of school and they got their bachelor's, their master's, their doctorate. Now, I don't even knock education, because education means something to me based on how you use it and how you apply that education, because there's a couple different things you're going to have and that I find that are very valuable. There's number one, education. You're going to get that from someone who has put together a program or a curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
Based on their theories and their philosophies on how to perform a specific task effectively, right? Then you have knowledge. Knowledge is kind of what you gain, when you start to apply what it is you were educated on, right? Then what I find to be at the top of the pyramid is wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
I find wisdom to be at the top of that pyramid. Wisdom is I believe you gain wisdom when you apply the bottom two and you see the results on how you applied it. How people respond to it. Was it beneficial to the people around you? Did you help someone? Did it hurt someone? How effective is that education that you've gained? Are you using it in a beneficial way? Is it benefiting someone? Is it benefiting society? Is it bringing people together, and how it works and how to apply it and what it looks like when you apply it. So it depends on what you want to hear from people. So I hear people who are educated, they want to sound educated. They get an education and they want to come talk to you in a language that you can't even understand to make themselves sound good, and they won't even speak to you in layman's terms so that you can understand. It's almost like people who read the Bible and they want to make themselves sound great and speak to you in scripture all the time. And I get it. I get it. The joy of learning, having this new education, and you want to share it with someone. But to get an education just so you can crap on someone is beyond me.
I don't think they do it to crap. I don't think they say, let me get in all this debt so I can crap on others. I think they get it for a sense of accomplishment for themselves. But it kind of reminds me of someone who is not used to being in the position that they're in. They may abuse that power. I think that's what's going on. And we've talked about this before. In this situation, it's almost like taking on the characteristics of a slave master. Okay. So in order for someone to be a slave master, they have to have slaves. In order for someone to feel superior, they have to make someone else seem or feel inferior. Okay. So because of these things, in order to win, somebody has to lose. So you've got friends, you've got friendships, you've got relationships where competition is the foundation. What the other person may not even realize it, but competition is the foundation for one of those parties. And just think about it. It's one thing in life. It's one thing for a friend to elevate in life, get their degree, secure the bag, travel the world, drive luxurious cars, have a beautiful home. But it's another thing when that success comes with a tone. One that doesn't sound like we made it, but I made it and you didn't. And that's a major issue. So, let me ask you this, because even with you said you took on a job that, you like, oh man, I got to go do this 9 to 5. But one thing that people may or may not know is that you're an actor, and the actors have seasons.
Yes.
And during those seasons, things are great. You are, I think how long has it been? I think it's been almost a month. It'll be a month on the 16th, where you debuted as a co-star on Chicago Fire.
Right.
Okay. So in doing that, you've got some people that were like, oh man, he's going to be on Chicago Fire. But I'm going to tell you, I watched how you even informed people. It wasn't you were excited just enough to share just enough. It wasn't, oh yeah, I'm going to be on Chicago. Oh yeah, I'm from Chicago. Oh yeah, you barely talked about it. But, and you could tell the people that gave the high fives and the hand claps and things like that. But then there may have been some people that said, oh, I've been on Chicago Fire,
Right.
And they don't realize the magnitude and even the position that you took in being in Chicago Fire. But so what? What if they've been on it? But right now is your moment. So how do you, in short, how do you handle those people? Or do you deal with them at all, Lorenzo?
What people?
People that don't support.
You know what? You get used to those people. You get used to those people. You just let them watch. They're the spectators. Those are the people who are in the stands. See, if you've ever been to a sporting event, right? Or you've been to a party where they was watching a sporting event, you always got the spectator that's talking about what the player should have did, what type of move they should have done, or what type of play they should have played. right? As if they're on the field. See, that's why you a spectator.
Or
This is why you're not on the court. Like if anybody out there that's listening, if you've ever played a sport like I boxed, I wrestled, I kickboxed, and you always hear somebody out in the audience telling you what you should have did. You know, duck, punch, like you ain't trying to do that, right? You know, or after if you've taken a loss, they always talk about what you should have did.
well, I've seen it in movies.
Right?
Man, she shouldn't have.
So,
she should have. He should have.
Right. It's you get it all the time, right? So with me, with my experience, especially my recent experience, you know, with my television debut, I mean, I had people, a small handful of people who celebrated me more than me. They were more happy than I was, right? But you're always gonna have that person that says, "Oh, well, you only had like 3 lines."
It's like, why?
You know what I'm saying? Well, you only had 1 line, or you only had 2 lines, you know, but you were there though. You know, it's not even like they not even recognizing that you was on a national television show.
Seen
They
by
don't
millions.
care.
Right. Seen by millions with those 2 lines. If it,
They will
Yeah.
minimize your success.
Mhm.
You know, they don't recognize all the stages that you're on, the stage plays, any of the commercials, the radio commercial. They minimize even that. You know, every time you move up the ladder, they minimize that to down to something else. Okay. You had 1 line more than you had last time. You know, it's like, you know, they minimize it. And you know, it's very and it doesn't hurt me at all. Like it used to in the early years, but you get used to those type of people. They don't, as you start to progress and you get closer, you know, to your success, they'll start to become more silent.
Mhm.
You know, but it's eating them up inside.
Yeah.
It is eating them up inside. It's like it's like somebody talking bad about you.
Mhm.
Then when people meet you, they find out that you not even the person that
Right.
they talked about.
Right.
You know, it's like the person that's bad mouthing you behind your back. Then you meet those people and they find out that you're a great person, and they are so upset because what has just happened is you have made a liar out of them. Is what is happening. You have made a liar out of that person.
Yeah, you absolutely. Let me just say hello to a few people. Well,
Yeah, go ahead.
actually, I see Paul. Paul, hello. He just dropped in. And Paul, if you
What's
want
up,
to come,
Paul?
if you want to come up to the stage, you can. It's actually LaDonna, Raeh, and Lorenzo T. Hughes. We're on the show Relationshiping. We're on YouTube. Actually, we've got a few viewers going on out there, but we've got some comments coming in, and we're talking about these haters that make you greater, basically friends that don't really celebrate you for real, but they'll ask all your business. Like, for instance, it's called surveillance and control. Asking how much you make instead of celebrating you is a form of economic surveillance. So it's not curiosity, it's power flexing. It's like, let me measure your worth before I validate your success.
I like that surveillance.
Isn't that crazy, though?
That is like surveillance.
It is. And if you think about it, slave masters monitored every move of an enslaved person.
But
Their output.
let me tell you what's
Let me just
Go ahead,
land
go
this
ahead, go
plane.
ahead.
Their output, they monitored their output, their behavior, their limits. Okay, your friend is watching your pockets, your posts, your purchases. That's not love. That's control. That is taking on the characteristics of the slave master. I'm going back to that for real.
You know, and to kind of go back when we were talking about reading, right? So in the book Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Wilson, he said in his book that the educated Negroes will become the new slave masters. And what he meant by that is that in the American education system, there is there is an indoctrination that you just find in all the teaching that when you reach a certain status or a certain level, they will treat you, you will be treated the way most white supremacists or white slave masters treated their slaves.
Mm-hmm.
You will be treated as similar. And there's also a book called
Before you move on to the next
go
book,
ahead.
that's by Carter G. Woodson. In case you guys want to look it up.
What did I say?
You said Wilson.
Woodson.
I didn't want to interrupt you.
Okay. Well, I don't got no. I remember his face, the name, and the book.
What's the next book?
The next book is black rednecks and white liberals. And in this book,
hey King, welcome. Hi King.
Yes, black rednecks and white liberals. In this book, they talk about the Southern Negro and the Northern Negro.
Okay, big difference.
And
kind of like the Met Gala, but go ahead.
Yeah, and you're gonna see you will probably see these characteristics today, where you see remnants of. Well, you see it every day, and it's where it talks about how the Southern Negroes have taken on the behaviors of, their white Southern slave masters, who were what Northern whites considered white trash, right? Trailer parkish, right? They spoke broken English, drunkards, loud, and because they were in the South, those the Negroes that was in the South took on those same behaviors: loud, broken English, drunkards, etc. Then you had your Northern Negroes that lived in the North. Now, they weren't exactly free, but they had more freedoms than their Southern counterparts, meaning that the whites saw the blacks there as an opportunity, meaning that though the Northern whites had businesses, they were entrepreneurs, and they saw the Northern blacks as an opportunity for them not to have to work in their businesses. So they taught the Northern blacks how to read, how to write, how to count money, and all these different things. And they had them work in their stores while they stayed on vacation or they were at home. So the Northern blacks knew how to run businesses. They learned how to run businesses, how to manage money, and all these different things, which set that divide up between Northern blacks and Southern blacks.
And I would be one to say that they may have shown them how to run businesses, but I would say they showed them how to run businesses in America or in this climate, because it wasn't like we arrived here not knowing how to do anything. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like we arrived here not knowing how to read, write, or speak up. It was we arrived here broken, okay? Starting from that supposed slave ship. Now, some of us were already here, but the things that we learned were how to move around or move about in the society that they had us in. I want to be clear about that. We got to really think about the things that we say, because even though the books show us that we showed up like a clean slate or an empty canvas, those are lies. Those are lies. We existed well before slavery.
Well, LaDonna, if you look at it like this, I don't disagree with what you're saying. But if you look at a map, if you look at the United States, right, and think of us as being like on Alcatraz, a big old island divided up in borders. And that's where we're at. We're on a big old island, a big old prison, surrounded by water.
And prison guards.
And prison guards. Think of the divided states of America as an island like Alcatraz. That's where we're at. Mm-hmm. Being miseducated. That's us.
Right. Okay. So let's watch this. Remember, I mentioned in the letter, it said that the friend said, "You're not making any real money." Well,
Mm.
that's called dismissal of humanity. It's an erasure of your journey and value. So that echoes the I can never say this
That
word.
dehumanization.
Yes, dehumanizing voice of the master. You don't matter unless I say you do.
Mm.
So, see, this shifts from the dynamic peer to peer to superior to inferior. And that's not friendship, that's hierarchy,
Mm.
that's comparison, that's competition, that's opposing. It's not friendship. And
I
people
agree
will
with
mask it. They will mask it as if, like, what did we say the other day? And this could be a topic. Stop using teachable moments as an excuse to tear somebody to shreds or put them down and say, "Oh, it was a teachable moment. Man, you looking good in that suit, young man, but you don't have a belt." It's like, dude, just leave it at you look good in that suit. Okay, me not having a belt is you don't know what that kid is going through, but you just
you.
tore up their whole effort.
It's like that. It's like that kid in preschool when you building your blocks, or you on the beach and you build a sand castle. Oh man, that looks nice. Wow. And they knock all your blocks down.
Right.
They kick your sand castle over. But
Not good.
it sometimes I wonder
Hey,
if
in the script.
we've taken on if we have been exposed to hateful behavior so long that
Are
we have
numb to
taken
it?
no that we've taken on the habits.
Oh,
We've taken on the habits of the hate that we're surrounded by every day, the hate that we hear every day. And I'm almost wondering, are we unconsciously taking on some of the habits and behaviors? It's like I had mentioned to you before. I don't believe white, is a color. It's a mindset and it's a behavior. And I'm wondering if we've taken on some of those behaviors.
no, ain't no wonder to it. It's obvious. It's
You,
obvious, and we weaponize. We have access to each other's trust, okay, because we look alike. And lots of times, you have to wonder when someone knows things about you, and we're not talking about deep dark secrets like you where you hit the body. We're talking about just your humble beginnings or your weaknesses, your insecurities.
Mhm.
And instead of protecting them or cherishing, your journey, they weaponize them. Someone who will weaponize something that you're in your most vulnerable state against you, these are the things that you have to look out for when it comes to having someone that close in your circle and calling them your friend, a sister, a mother. I mean, it doesn't matter who it is. It's like the people that know the most about you, it's harder for them. It's either harder for them to celebrate you, and this is not about, oh, celebrate me, but it is about, dang, celebrate me instead of crap on me and find flaw in everything that you do. That's not being a friend. That's not.
Well, I
That's not
believe
being a supporter. That's not being supportive. It's not a teachable moment. It's none of that.
we should um, try to develop the habit of celebrating each other, cheering each other on, because those are the things that inspire you to work harder and to keep going.
Yeah.
Um, it when people don't celebrate you, that's why I admire people who go into business, on their own, or go into entrepreneurship, or pursue a goal, because what happens is man, I know, and this is a fact. And if and anybody that has done this, you can comment and say that this is not true or it is true.
Mm-hmm.
When you are pursuing a goal, you are by yourself because no one is interested, truly interested in what you're doing. They don't understand your dream. They don't understand it. And you know what? They're not supposed to, really. They're not going to understand it. Some people may think, man, this ain't going to be impossible for you to do. It's going to sound impossible to them, but in your mind,
Mm-hmm.
it's possible. And when you start to pursue that goal, whether it's working a job, trying to save up the money to accomplish the goal, or you sleeping in your car, and doing all these challenging things to get to where you're trying to. No one's gonna understand that. Man, you crazy. Man, I wouldn't do that. Man, you a fool, boy. Man, you out of your mind. You're gonna hear all these different things that are very distracting. So sometimes, and I know this from experience, sometimes there are moments where you need that little bit of encouragement. You need that little bit of praise that'll get you. That's going to give you just that little bit of spiritual energy or umph to to keep going, to take the next step. It's like when you have that moment of where you feel like you're about to give up, it's that little bit of encouragement that you get from someone that notices you,
Yeah, this is true. Hi, William.
that gives you that little bit of energy. What's up, William?
Long time no
So
see, sir.
so whenever I see an opportunity to celebrate someone,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it's like a young person, because when you man, that's really lonely when you're young trying to do this stuff. But I try to purposely make sure I celebrate what it is that they're doing and to let them know that I recognize it and I understand the challenge and the difficulties that they're going through.
Hold on. William said, he said, hello, Clubhouse is still around.
You know, I was, you know what I think I was, what was that? Did I say that the last time you? No, it was something else.
Let me tell
We might
you,
have been talking about.
William and I used to be on Clubhouse overnight. Like we would start on Clubhouse at, I don't know, 6, 7 o'clock in the evening. And this room that we were in would
Fix my camera.
still be going at 4, 5, 6 in the morning. And I was one of the moderators that kept it going because we had to, we were playing music. And so when
Ah,
when the DJ wasn't playing, he fell asleep. I would take over and play music from my side. It was so much fun. It was so much fun. But it's good to see you, William. Um, but one of the things that, well, just so you know, we're talking about the titles when leveling up means looking down. Basically, if you have a friend who has leveled up their situation, either financially, educationally, or the like, and then they have some shady things to say about the way you're living because they have now arrived. So we got a letter that was sent in stating that they went through this exact same thing and it was not pretty. But one of the things that we kind of shifted to was, do you take on the mindset of the slave master just because you've done well for yourself and all your friends that were not on the same journey, you start turning your nose up at them. But reinforcing the plantation mindset is a part of what we're talking about. Um, and what that means is instead of breaking the chains, they uphold them. Kind of like the friend becomes a gatekeeper, making sure you don't level up too fast, too far ahead of them.
mm,
Though there's those too, those that'll give you bad advice and make sure that it slows you down, knowing that that's what it'll do. But it's another thing, another part of that is it's not just about outdoing you, it's about making sure you remember your place. So because you grew up with a single parent and a not so loving mother, and they grew up with a loving mother and a loving father, they want to make sure you remember that you came from a broken home. And that sounds so far-fetched, but I've heard it. I've heard it from women over 50 comparing the two. And you listen to it and you go, wow, I'm not my past. And what does that matter? Because two people together does not equal a guaranteed, law-abiding, educated, successful outcome of a child. It doesn't guarantee it. But neither does a single parent guarantee a child that gets locked up, has a prison record, or ends up being a parent too young. There's no guarantee. It's up to the individual.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I totally agree with it. I'm just trying to sit here and think, what do we do, like moving forward when we deal with these kind of people, I think you asked me a question, as far as I deal with it, but to kind of go back, on that one, they're going to exist. There's nothing we can do about that. They're going to exist. The biggest thing is not to allow them to slow you down, to get you off track, and to keep running, running the race, keep moving forward. Those people are going to exist. You're going to have people, and you know what the crazy part though, the scary part about that whole thing, when we talk about running the race, you're going to find people that are just going to wait for you at the finish line.
And
they weren't cheering you on, and they weren't doing none of those things, but they're going to wait for you at the finish line. A lot of times, in many cases, most cases, especially if you're a man, it's going to be the women that are going to wait for you at the finish line, because when you get the finish line, that's where all the benefits are at.
Yeah.
When you starting out, you ain't got nothing, man. You eating syrup sandwiches and everything. You busting it. You riding a bike. When you starting at the starting blocks, nobody. That's why I said it's a lonely journey when you starting out.
It is.
When you get to the finish line, when you have accomplished your goal, you have made it. That's when people are gonna come. Yeah, I knew he would do it.
I've been there the whole time.
I was there when he was first started out.
Sure you were.
I know LaDonna. Yeah, we was in the starting blocks together. I remember when we first, I was right there with her. You're gonna always have those people that will wait for you at the finish line, and they want to be there they want to talk about how they know you. They want to talk about how good you look, how they always liked you, how they always knew you would do it. They knew you would make it, but they never contributed to your success.
And speaking of contributed to your success, William Gary said these women out here only want to be around to get the benefits, no building.
Yes, they don't. Yeah, matter of fact, the crazy thing, they will admit it. I ain't trying to help build no man. They admit it now, which is cool. Look, don't even be mad. Be happy when somebody says it outright.
Because now you know where they stand.
Yeah, now you can make a choice now. You can make a choice to go with that anyway. But I don't even get mad when people say that. Don't get mad when somebody say I'm a racist. Don't get mad when somebody tell you outright that I just want a man for their money. I ain't gonna help no man. I ain't gonna do nothing for no man. I ain't gonna do nothing. Don't be mad. Be happy that they gave you the heads up. But because it sucks to find out a year or two in that this is who that person is. So you got to be happy that a person is that people are letting you know that up front. But
well, we're coming up on an hour, and I want
okay.
to give some advice to our audience based on the letter that we read initially, where she talked about how her friend did not celebrate her, and then asked how much money she made. And because she didn't want to tell her, she just basically shitted on the whole thing and said, "Well, I can look it up and don't worry about it. I've worked that job before. I already know." And well, then you should know, right?
Right.
Oh, William said, "This is why they be dating young." Yeah, because they can mold them into whatever they want them to be.
Uh-huh.
I want to, baby, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be like you, daddy. Well, come to papa, you know. All right, so here's some advice. Don't internalize the shade. Just because someone questions you, your value doesn't mean you're worth less. Their insecurity is not your reality. Your journey is valid, even if it doesn't come with degrees, titles, or six-figure checks. You don't need a LinkedIn headline to prove your growth, okay? You woke up, you're healing, you're showing up, that's progress. Um, Number 2, address it with love and boundaries. You don't have to check them with the heat. Okay, so you don't have to clap back. You can try truth instead. Let them know how their words made you feel. And if they care, they'll reflect. If they don't, that's your sign. That's truly your sign. Or, you could say, I noticed that lately. Here's an example, right? I noticed that our conversations feel more like competition than connection. I value our friendship, but I need to feel celebrated, not critiqued. It's okay to say that. Don't I always talk about the whole reading the mind of the person that you want to give you something, but they won't. They don't know what to give you if you don't communicate it. So it's okay to communicate it and hopefully see the change. It may not happen overnight, but if they're too stubborn and say, I'm not going to do it just because you told me, well, I don't know what to tell you. Um, Another thing, surround yourself with people who clap when you win and make sure you're the person that claps when they win. Okay, it's not all about receiving claps, it's about giving claps as well. So, real friends cheer, period. Find those that recognize your shine without needing to dim it and be that friend for someone else. Sometimes the loudest applause comes from the quietest room, but those are the people you keep close. Um, another Another thing you can do is level up but stay grounded. If you're the one who's elevated, this is a good one. If you're the one who's elevated, check yourself too. Are you still being humble? Or as my aunt used to say, humble, grateful, and supportive? Or are you turning to the person you once vented about? Success doesn't even require stepping on others. It requires lifting as you climb. So if you want to make people rich, if you want to make people rich, wait, let me remember what the saying is. If you want to free people, become free. If you want to make people rich, no, if you want to be rich, help millionaires. If you want to be a millionaire, help rich people. Okay? So it's not about self-serving in this climate, in this society, in this existence. It's about helping other people, celebrating other people, motivating other people. Sometimes you'll motivate a young person, and that person might cure the very disease that you may have. You know what I'm saying? Like, why are we constantly dimming each other's light? We got to stop it, because that's what the slave master did. He was like, if you were getting too sassy or too smart or too anything, they broke you. I would have been dead, but they broke you. And we don't have to do that to each other. We can just, if you don't want to be around someone who's so happy about their situation, then stay away from them. That's all you got to do. So the goal isn't to just be successful. It's to be successful and still someone and still be someone else's celebration. Don't criticize, uplift. Don't try to upstage them. Celebrate them, make them feel special. And somebody will tell you how what it means to them. If they come to you and they're all excited and giddy, feed it. Literally. Take them out and celebrate.
Mm.
Lorenzo,
Oh, okay. It's my turn.
I know you not talking.
Well, based on what we were saying, the conversation we had, definitely find somebody to try to reset your way of thinking, your mindset into celebrating people. Even if it's easier for you to start out with celebrating young people, do that. It's very easy when you see someone young working at McDonald's, working at a gas station, doing something that usually people look at as bottom level, entry level jobs. Usually a lot of young people take on those jobs just to have a little bit of change in their pockets. And
No, they don't
sometimes,
take them anymore. These young
oh,
people
I've,
feel
I've,
entitled.
I've seen a few of them that when I see them working these jobs, I make sure I celebrate them because I know. Like we used to be, man, we used to be proud to be working at McDonald's, Burger King, and not to even give away my age, but this was like in the you know uh late 80s and everything.
Oh, that
I
was
was
before
working
my
at
time.
McDonald's, and we were proud to be talking about where we were working at, because we had, I think when I started working at McDonald's, I think I was making 3.25 an hour, right? And I think when I quit, I was making 3.85 an hour, and I thought that was some money. We were proud to be working, and then as the years went on, you find young people that were ashamed to say that they were working at McDonald's or Burger King. So I try to encourage them to do so. But even like if you're a young person and you're working these jobs, use it as an opportunity to educate yourself on how McDonald's run their business. How they do their marketing, how they, you know, uh, uh, run their scheduling system. Look at and educate yourself while you're there. Um, but to conclude and everything, I would like to see you also challenge yourself in emptying out that the old mindset. Think of your brain as like a cup that's full. You will not be able to put anything new in it until you empty it out. Empty that cup and start putting some new, clean thoughts inside that cup, some clean habits inside that cup, so that we can develop a habit in encouraging and building each other up and inspiring one another.
All right. Well, we want to thank all of you that were in the room on Clubhouse, those of you that were watching on YouTube, Facebook. I see the comments, I see the thumbs up, the emojis, the hearts. Thank you so much for those. This is a weekly show. Relationshiping is hosted by myself, LaDonna Raeh, and Lorenzo T. Hughes. And I just want to say, a big thank you. And we celebrate you. Whatever you got going on, it's a celebration. It's not trying to be warm and fuzzy, but it takes a lot to do whatever it is you're doing. I can tell
Yes.
you that. So
Yes.
nothing worth having is easy. And we want to just put a bow or a button, as they say, on this particular episode of relationshiping. We hope today's conversation or tonight's conversation made you think not just about who claps for you, but about who doesn't and
Yes.
why. If someone in your life can only see your flaws while flaunting their growth, ask yourself, are they rising or just rehearsing oppression in a new outfit? You already know the answer to that. So remember, real elevation doesn't require condescension. You don't have to shrink to keep people comfortable, and you don't have to apologize for your wins. If you're the one who's leveled up, don't forget to reach back and lift with love, not judgment. If this show touched someone, I feel like this is the end of a church service. If this show touched someone or something in you, share it. Start that conversation in your group chat, at brunch, or even in the mirror. Because healing is our community start with being real about what hurts and being bold enough to change it.
Yes, indeed.
All right.
Love it.
Well, anyway, until next time, keep shipping those relationship letters to us.
Yes, indeed, y'all.
Yep, something healthier and deeper is coming along, guys. And the email address is ladonnarayshow@gmail.com. And I'm LaDonna Raeh.
Hey, and I'm Lorenzo T. Hughes, and y'all keep running the race.
That's what I'm talking about. And hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Love y'all.
Love ya.
Bye-bye for now.